Okay, this is my Yamaha Fazer 1000. It's an '05 bike and we're now in 2015. And if you're looking at this video, you probably know that the batteries on the Meta alarms last for about 10 years and then they go. So when it goes, you're stuck, which is precisely what happened to me when I came out to the bike a few days ago, pressed the key fob and nothing happened. So I got on the internet and I saw the fixes for the workarounds, how to join wires together, how to bridge wires, and I went to do that, but I made a mistake. I didn't realize there was two versions of the Meta alarm, and I tried to put the fix for the first version onto my version 2 alarm. So my problem was that now the bike wouldn't start, and in my haste what I had done is I had cut the alarm, and you can see here's the alarm. It's a M357T-V2, and what I did was I had cut the wires to the end to the alarm. There's a separate set of wires. You can see they come out of here and go into the alarm, but now I was in a situation where I didn't know how to get the alarm bypassed. So my only option was to go to the loom and to open it up and to try and identify the wires. But when I did that, I discovered that it's not quite so easy. So I decided to make this video to try and show people what the process is to get the bike started, because I was able to do so and thought it might be helpful for people. So you can see I've put some white paper here or behind the loom so we can just see it easily. Now in the Fazer, it's very tight. You can find the place on the loom where the alarm cuts into the loom, which is just here. So what you have is you've got the loom comes from the bike up here underneath, is split open, and then you'll see wires that also continue through this way up to the back of the bike. You can identify the original manufacturer's covering. It looks different from the insulating tape that's used to cover the join in from the alarm to the loom. Well, the first thing that you have is, it's very confusing, you've got a whole set of black wires, and they seem to be connected to identical black wires that have a slight green mark on them from the loom. So it's almost impossible to tell what's what. But when you look at it and you start to take it slowly, you can see that there are three wires. 1, 2, 3. You can see that I've cut them here already. These go to the back of the bike through the original loom. You can ignore them in this exercise. Just push them away, cut them off, there's no need. What you're left with then is 6 wires that appear to come from the bike up this way, out here, and you can see them here, they're all joined in. These are the joins: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So these 6 wires, the problem is we don't know which ones are which and which ones should be joined together. Well, the first thing you do out of these 6 is you can discard this one here, the one with the fuse. You don't need that. And you're left with 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 identical black wires. In fact, I think this one looks a bit thinner. But so what you've got to do here is you've got to find the 4 wires that will make 2 sets of 2. The 4 wires from the 5 that when you join them into 2 sets of 2 will start the bike. That will mean one of these 5 wires will be redundant, but you don't know yet which one. Well, what I did was I bared the ends of each of the 5 wires, like you can see here, just like this. You just take the plastic off, and I started touching the wires off each other. What you're looking for is the first 2 wires that are used for the starter motor. how you go about doing that is you turn on the ignition, like just at this key, and you, in order, pick one wire and start touching it off the others. Eventually you'll come to a situation where the starter motor on the bike will start to fire, but the bike will not come to life. What you want is the situation where when you touch that wire against another wire, the starter motor does not fire until you press the starter button on the handlebar. So just to state that again, you want to find the two wires that allow the starter motor to turn over only when you press the starter button on the right handlebar. When you find those two wires, you join them together. You then are left with 3 wires. And from those 3 wires you have to find a pair, that when they're joined together and you go through the process of ignition on, press the starter button, the bike will actually fire. Now you found the second pair. Obviously then the last wire, the 5th wire, is redundant and you don't need it. So what you can see here is, because I've done this already and eventually worked it out, I used a connector block, and you can see here I've numbered them already. This is a small little label, just a sticky label. It just says 1, and I found the pair that it went with. So there, that was my first job. Okay, find the pair that start the starter motor only when the ignition is on and the starter motor is pressed. And then through a process of elimination I found the other 2, which I've just labeled here, 3 and 4. The other 2 wires that together allow the bike to start. So now you can see that I have 2 pairs, each one going into a block on the connector block here. That leaves me with 1 wire. The 5th wire is redundant, and this wire here, this wire is the wire that we started with. We saw with the fuse, we don't need that. Okay, so once you've discovered of the 6 wires that come up from the bike's loom, which 4 of them when joined together create 2 pairs, you now can start the bike. So here we go, just turn it on. You can see it starts up the normal fashion. Press the starter button. So we've now managed to bypass the wiring on the Meta alarm completely, and the bike starts. There's now no alarm on it, and don't have to worry about immobilizers, alarms, or pressing the button before we start off every time. It's quite confusing, but if you take it slowly and you go through this process, you can get to the situation of identifying the 4 wires that you need to create into 2 pairs, and that will get your bike started again.